Hey friends, this is Scott from Roland, and I'm really happy to be able to show you the Fantom. The Fantom comes in 3 different sizes. 88-note weight action, so it has the same action as the RD2000, and also a 76 and a 61-note synth action. It's our best synth action yet, with all of the diversity, the interaction with the DAWs, and just the incredible sound and playability. Now with the Fantom, it's kind of like the ultimate controller meets the ultimate synthesizer. So if I look over here on the left-hand side, I have 16 zones, and these zones can be either external or internal. If it's green, it's external. If it's red, it's internal sounds. So I can have all kinds of different combinations, and I can mix them in real time. It's really, really easy. I can do the levels, the panning and CC assignments, the controllers, the main USB slider here. These sliders, they'll double as drawbar controls for organ sound, so that's awesome. And over here on the right-hand side, you have the synthesizer side. So this is really awesome because you have these really incredible knobs for adjustments for the filter, for the oscillator selections, for the pitch, filter, and amplifier envelopes. Everything is visual. Also on the right side, we have basically the song creation side too. So we have the sequencer that allows us to do 3 types of recording, and we also have the pads, these multifunctional pads that do many, many different things that assist you, and also the main sound category buttons. So this helps you to get around and choose the appropriate sound really quickly. So in the center, you have the touch screen display. It's really big. It allows you to navigate very quickly through what we call a scene. Now, a scene can consist of up to 16 zones, internal or external, and all their assignments, all kinds of effects. So basically, it's a snapshot of everything that's on the front panel. So over here on the left of the screen, we have master effects. We have an incredible analog filter. We have a motional pad that allows you to do some really cool things with sound design. You can have 4 different sounds assigned, and you can tweak that sound really easily. Also, we have the DAW mode, so if you're connected to your computer, you can access apps, like MainStage or Logic. You have a menu if you need to go deep into any of the menus of the Fantom. You have the chain mode. So that allows you to take scenes from anywhere in the Fantom and chain them next to each other really quickly. So that's great for live performance. You also have the zone views where you can look at the single sound. You can look at the 4 different zones. You can look at 8 or 16 different zones at one time. So that's very, very cool. Now, you also have your basic transport controls over here, but you also have your dial and your navigation arrows. Of course, headphone jacks, you have the main outputs, you have 2 sub-outs, there's an analog filter out, which is nice. You also have the dual CV and gate, 3 external device USB ports, so I can power up maybe a boutique or other USB gear. You also have a dual 1/4-inch and XLR mic line input with Fantom power. You have 4 control switches for pedals. You also have MIDI in, out, and through. The through can also be an additional MIDI out. Okay, so you hear that pad, how it's moving around a lot. Now, let's take a look at that pad, and what's making that sound work like that is that it is with the Step LFO. And I can go and I can play around with these, the curves, the depth of all of these steps. I can change this in many different ways. You see how it can manipulate the sound. So as you can see, this texture is moving around quite a bit. There are thousands of sounds available in the Fantom. Here's a great electric piano. really nice effects. There's over 90 effects, so there's a nice little phaser on here. Here's another one that's really cool. And it has that dynamic that's really important too, because you really want to dig in sometimes. And you also want to play really soft and sensitive. There's some really amazing pad sounds. There's also some really cool pluck sounds that are nice for sequencing. There's also some really cool groove menus. Here's some really cool lead sounds. Now you can also layer a bunch of sounds. So let's take this lead sound and let's layer it with that first sound. So with the Fantom, we have seamless crossfading from one scene to the next. The sound engine of the Fantom allows us to extend the frequency ranges of the filtering, both with the digital filter and with the analog filter. Let's take a look at the digital filter first. Just kind of vibing with this pattern. So it's very dynamic. You have a lot of expressive control, the JP filter, which is basically the Jupiter filter from Roland. We also have a few other classic types of filter emulations: peak filter, low pass filter, high pass, band pass. It's everything that you could imagine of having just so much fun and having an extended range with the new sound engine technology. All right, let's move to the analog filter. Now, the analog filter is incredible because you can have control of, well, first of all, the level. We have also an overdrive that's really nice. You can go through all the different filters here. You can also run this filter through the digital filter as well. Now, you can also go through the effects and you can tweak the effects. You can also EQ. You can also go in and tweak the envelopes, and you can see everything, so it's really, really nice. So let's hear this analog filter with that same arpeggiated sound. Another aspect that's a lot of fun is this motional pad. You can assign any sound that you want to these 4 different zones, so you can morph from this sound so it's nice, really helpful probably for film scores or, people that are scoring to picture. With the Fantom, creating music has an amazing diversity. You have 3 different ways of sequencing. So I have our Roland TR recording, which is kind of like a drum machine style recording. You also have the Steptime recording and also regular linear recording. So let's do a little bit of all 3. So I have it in TR recording, and I'm just going to push play, and you can see that I have the kind of the grid going along. So I'll start with a hi-hat. I like that hi-hat. So nice. I like that kick. Feels good. Pretty simple. And now the thing that's really great is that everything that I just created now went to a clip. Now I can have many different clips, as you know. Okay, now let's make the second track where we're going to record in step time. So I just hit the recorder, hit step time, and I can set the rhythmic duration. So let's say if I wanted to do a bar of 16th notes. And then maybe the next bar, it'll just be 8th notes. And then maybe the last one will be a combination of 16th notes and maybe 2 quarter notes. Okay? Now, when I go to play that back, pretty cool. Now let's do one last track. Let's do this in just regular linear recording. So I'll go over here and I'm going to set the count off. So I have a 1 bar count off in front, and then maybe go to the input quantize, which is nice because then it rhythmically corrects my playing before I even know it. So it's kind of nice to not hear that you're rhythmically challenged. Okay, so I'm going to hit the start button and I got a bar up front. workflow is wonderful. So of course, you would expect that a Fantom workstation has sampling capability. What we have here is we have 1.75 gigabytes sample memory that you can load in here, whether they're small clips or longer samples. So we'll just go over to the sample bank. I'll choose sampling, and I'll hit auto trigger. So as soon as I press a key or I press anything, it's going to start recording. And I can easily go in and tweak it so I can get really close to the edit point, and then I can set the sample playback. You can see it automatically goes to the pad, and then I'll just do the quick edit, and then I can loop it, and we're actually good to go. As I mentioned, that this side is the control side, but you can also use the pads to control a lot of different aspects of the Fantom. So I have pad mode. I could actually have this set to where I can have samples played back from the pads. I can set it to notepad where I can play drums or any MIDI note from the pads. I can also set this to partials and on and off. So if I want to get into some really in-depth sound editing, I can do that. DAW control, I can mute particular zones, which this is all really, really cool for live performance or any type of playback. We also have keyboard switch group. And what that does is that is really helpful when you're playing live. So I can have many different zone on and off configurations assigned to these pads. You can see that all of these are changing. So like if I have the first one is a piano sound, and this one is just an electric piano, and now this is a three-way layer. There's another different three-way layer. Now let's dig inside a scene. Now each scene can have up to 16 zones. Now let's go into the single zone. For instance, if I just want to call up a piano sound, okay? I just hit one of these category buttons here, and then I can go in and I can easily select any particular piano. I have subcategories, so there's so many different sounds in here, and these category buttons make it really easy to navigate very quickly to get to the right sound as fast as possible. So like for instance, if I have a bass sound, well, I may want an acoustic bass or an electric bass or one of the hundreds and hundreds of synth basses. So you can really choose things very, very quickly from the sound category. Now, another thing that I really like is that if I wanted to sort of create a sound from scratch, so if I go to the oscillator knob here, I can choose the type of oscillator that I want to use, whether it's PCM, the virtual analog, PCM sync, or a super saw. So let's choose a super saw. Okay, cool. And now let's go in and maybe adjust the filter. Get a nice sweep. Let's get a nice little tail here. Nice. So let's, for instance, let's say I wanted to change this piano sound. Okay, so I got this piano sound. Let's keep it in the PCM world. And let's go in and change the individual tones. Now look at all these waveforms. I have now the waveform list. This is incredible because there's hundreds of waveforms, and it allows even the most inexperienced sound designer to quickly edit the sound. Okay, let's dig a little bit deeper on how the Fantom is actually playing back patterns. There's many different types of scenes in the Fantom, and you can color coordinate them as you wish. Out of the box, the red scenes are pretty much playable scenes. The ones that are yellow are ones with patterns in them. So let's look at one with a pattern in it. So just go over here to the workflow area and press pattern, and you can see that I have all of these different tracks. Here I have 8 tracks. I have 6 tracks that are being played, and with each of these tracks I have different variations. So you see a little bit of how you can kind of manipulate these patterns and these clips. There's also a lot of editing functions here. So you can go into the loop setting, you can loop any of these clips any way you want, you can extend the the length of the loop, you can turn the loop on and off. You can go into pattern utility where you can quantize any of these clips. You can go in and mix them very quickly. You can also name them, or you can import or export them into the Fantom, back into the Fantom, or take them out to your DAW and for further editing and tweaking. Let's go in and talk a little bit how you would create a song. Okay, so you have all these patterns and they're all grouped in. Let's actually choose another song here. So I got this song. Kind of got the vibe here. So let's go into the pattern mode. And in addition to the loop setting, the pattern utility, you can also mute any of the tracks if you want. You can also solo a track, but let's go to where we're making a song. I'm gonna add an intro. Let's just add a verse. Let's add a chorus, and let's do an ending. Okay, so pretty typical, easy to understand. Now, let's go into the song playback. Okay, so now I can actually play the song back. I can skip one of the parts if I want. I can go in and edit the song. I can move things around if I want. I can actually loop one or all of the little patterns, turn the loop switch on, and we're good to go. So let me just play this song, and I think that you'll get the idea real quick. So now you can just have all this control in real time over your song. With your creative and musical needs, it pretty much starts and ends with the Fantom. This is such an incredibly diverse instrument, not only with creativity, but with sound and with functionality, the workflow. It's really great for every musician. For more info, go to musiciansfriend.com.